Imagine a city of marble and ambition, where power is the ultimate prize. This is Rome, 100 BCE. The Republic stands mighty, but its foundations are cracking. Corruption festers in the Senate, and powerful generals dream of becoming kings. Into this world of intrigue, a boy is born, Gaius Julius Caesar. His family is ancient, tracing its lineage back to the goddess Venus herself, but their fortunes have faded. Tragedy strikes early when Caesar's father dies, forcing the young man to carve his own path. He has a powerful connection, though. His aunt is married to Gaius Marius, one of Rome's most celebrated generals. Growing up, Caesar witnesses the brutal civil war between his uncle Marius and his rival, Sulla, a conflict that rips the city apart. When Sulla emerges victorious and declares himself dictator, he turns his attention to the young Caesar. His demand is simple: divorce your beloved wife, Cornelia. Caesar, in a stunning act of defiance, refuses. Stripped of his inheritance and marked for death, Caesar flees Rome. He lives as a fugitive, hidden by friends, his future uncertain. He is eventually pardoned and joins the army in Asia Minor. It's on the battlefield that his true nature emerges. He is fearless, a natural leader, earning the civic crown, Rome's second highest military honor, for saving a fellow soldier's life. But war is only one path to power. Seeking to master the art of persuasion, he sails for Rhodes to study oratory. But his journey is cut short when pirates capture his ship. They demand a ransom of 20 talents of silver. Caesar laughs in their faces. He tells them they've undervalued him and insists they demand 50. During his captivity, he acts not like a prisoner, but like their commander, ordering them to be quiet while he sleeps and sharing his poetry. He jokes that once he's free, he'll hunt them down and have them all crucified. The pirates laugh it off. It was no joke. After his ransom is paid, Caesar raises a small naval force, tracks down his former captors, and does exactly as he promised. Word begins to spread throughout the Republic. This young nobleman possesses an iron will. Returning to Rome, Caesar dives headfirst into the chaotic world of politics. His electrifying speeches captivate the masses, and his lavish spending on public games and festivals wins their adoration. He sinks into staggering debt, borrowing vast sums to fund his political ambitions, but in return, he gains the most valuable currency of all: the love of the people. In 63 BCE, he secures the prestigious office of Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest, making his home a new center of power. He champions the poor and challenges the authority of the conservative senators, who begin to watch him with growing suspicion. His next appointment is as governor of Spain. There, he crushes banditry, reforms the administration, and amasses a small fortune. It's said that in Spain, upon seeing a statue of Alexander the Great, Caesar wept. He was already Alexander's age, yet he felt he had accomplished so little. The fire of ambition now burned hotter than ever. He returns to Rome, celebrated and wealthy, but his debts and enemies remain. To climb higher, he needs allies. He forges a secret pact with the two most powerful men in Rome: Crassus, the richest man in the Republic, and Pompey the Great, its most famous general. This alliance, known as the First Triumvirate, is a private agreement to control Rome from behind the scenes. To seal the deal, Caesar's daughter Julia marries Pompey. With Crassus's money and Pompey's military might, Caesar is elected consul, Rome's highest office, in 59 BCE. He immediately passes laws benefiting the common people and his soldiers, further enraging the old guard in the Senate, who are powerless to stop him. But a single year in office isn't enough. As his term ends, Caesar secures a 5-year command as governor of Gaul, modern-day France. This is chance. Gaul is a vast, untamed territory, a land of fierce Celtic tribes and untold wealth. For Caesar, it is the key to everything: military glory, unimaginable riches, and most importantly, a battle-hardened army loyal only to him. He immediately marches against the Helvetii tribe, defeating them in a decisive battle. He then turns his attention to Germanic tribes crossing the Rhine, driving them back with ruthless efficiency. Reports of his stunning victories pour into Rome, making the Senate increasingly nervous. But Caesar is just getting started. In a breathtaking display of Roman engineering and psychological warfare, his legions build a bridge across the mighty Rhine River in just 10 days. He marches his army across, demonstrates his ability to strike anywhere, and then marches back, dismantling the bridge behind him. The Germanic tribes are left in awe. In Gaul, Caesar is becoming more than a general. He is becoming a legend. His soldiers worship him, the people of Rome hail him as a hero, and his enemies in the Senate watch on, their fear turning into a cold, simmering hatred. Welcome back to our journey through the life of Julius Caesar. We left him on the verge of conquering Gaul, but his ambition was just getting started. As the fires of war raged across Gaul, Caesar's legions marched from one stunning victory to another. But he wasn't just a general. He was a master storyteller. In his commentaries on the Gallic War, he chronicled every battle, every strategic decision, ensuring his name echoed through Rome not as rumor, but from his own powerful pen. He crushed the fierce Belgae and the relentless Nervi. With each victory, Rome's borders expanded, and so did Caesar's personal wealth and influence. His soldiers, forged in the crucible of battle, became fiercely loyal not to the Senate, but to him. Their battle cry wasn't for Rome, it was Caesar, Caesar. His name was becoming greater than the Republic itself. But while Caesar was celebrated on the battlefield, shadows were gathering back in Rome. Senators, terrified of his growing power, whispered that he was a tyrant in waiting. The delicate political balance shattered when Crassus, the third member of the triumvirate, was killed in battle. The alliance was broken. Pompey, once Caesar's ally and son-in-law, was now his greatest rival, siding with the fearful Senate. The ultimatum came: disband your army and return to Rome as a private citizen. Caesar knew this was a trap. To obey meant public humiliation and certain arrest. To resist meant civil war. On a freezing January night in 49 BCE, he stood with his loyal 13th Legion at the edge of a small river called the Rubicon. It was the border between his province and Italy. To cross it with an army was an act of treason. His men stood silent, awaiting his command. Looking across the water toward Rome, Caesar made his choice. "Alia iacta est," he whispered. "The die is cast." He led his legion across, and with that single step plunged the Roman world into chaos. Pompey and the Senate, panicked by Caesar's lightning advance, fled Rome. Caesar entered the city unopposed. He presented himself not as a conqueror, but as a defender of the Republic. In a brilliant political move, he pardoned many of his opponents, cultivating an image of a merciful leader. His campaign was swift and decisive. He crushed Pompey's forces in Spain before turning east for the final showdown. At Pharsalus in Greece, the two titans of Rome finally met. Caesar was outnumbered 2-1, but his veterans were the most experienced soldiers in the world. The battle was a brutal, bloody affair, Roman against Roman. Caesar's tactical genius shattered Pompey's lines. The victory was total. Pompey fled, seeking refuge in Egypt with the young king, Ptolemy XIII. But the Egyptians, fearing Caesar's wrath more than they valued their guest, made a fatal miscalculation. They murdered Pompey and presented his severed head to Caesar as a gift. Caesar, however, turned away in disgust. The death of his great rival was a tragedy, not a triumph. It was in Alexandria that he met a woman who would change his life, Cleopatra VII, the exiled queen. In a now legendary move, she had herself smuggled past her brother's guards and delivered to Caesar rolled up in a carpet. Unfurled at his feet, she was not just beautiful, but brilliant and charismatic. Caesar was captivated. He restored her to the throne, and she became his powerful ally and his lover. After months in Egypt, Caesar returned to Rome, the undisputed master of the Roman world. He was declared dictator first for a year, then for 10, and finally, for life. He launched ambitious reforms, granting citizenship to provincials, creating a new calendar that we still use today, and rebuilding parts of the city. He continued his policy of clemency, forgiving former enemies like Brutus and Cassius and giving them positions in his government. The people loved him, but his generosity only fueled the paranoia of the elite. They saw every move as a step closer to kingship, the ultimate taboo in the Republic. The final act began at the Lupercalia festival. Mark Antony, his loyal subordinate, offered Caesar a golden crown. Caesar theatrically refused it 3 times to the roar of the crowd, but for the senators watching, the message was clear. The conspiracy solidified. Ominous warnings were ignored. His wife, Calpurnia, begged him not to go to the Senate after dreaming of his death. A soothsayer famously warned him to beware the Ides of March. On the morning of March 15, 44 BCE, Caesar met the soothsayer again. "The Ides of March have come," Caesar said dismissively. "Aye, Caesar," the man replied, "but not yet gone." He entered the theater of Pompey, where the Senate was meeting. The conspirators crowded around him, daggers hidden beneath their togas. Then they struck. One by one, the men he had pardoned, the men he had promoted, plunged their blades into him. He fell at the base of a statue of his old rival, Pompey. Julius Caesar, the conqueror of Gaul, the victor of the Civil War, lay dead on the Senate floor. But his death would not save the Republic. Instead, it would unleash a new storm of violence and pave the way for the rise of an emperor, and the end of the world he had fought so hard to master. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, don't forget to subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. See you next time.